SHIPIT Nation. Tambo and I are friends. We live by each other. That's why it makes more sense to do work with Tambo. I'm running with SHIPIT right now.
Sounds like you might be Team SHIPIT if you know Hoop's username.
He's one of the DFS OGs.
He is.
Team SHIPIT Nation, because I know those guys better.
All right, mark it down.
Mark it down.
There it is.
I'm going to go with SHIPIT Nation. Always been a fan of Hoop from like way back in the day. Like I played DFS for a living and I played against him a lot and just respected his DFS play.
I'm going to go with SHIPIT because the only person I've met personally in the industry in either of those spots is Tambo. I really like Tambo a lot. So,
okay. I wish I had a little hat that I could pull on like a college recruit or something. But,
yeah, I actually do.
Nah, man. Run the Sims is officially a member of Team SHIPIT Nation.
Okay,
we're planting our flag in the sand, tying our wagons to Tambo and Hoop.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for our first edition of the season. Excited to be back. NFL Showdown, Thursday Night Football. Got the Ravens at the Chiefs. Going to break it all down for you. Cover captains, roster construction, position by position, some FanDuel. Break down some of the tools we've got over at SHIPIT Nation. If you're just joining us for the first time, we appreciate it. We got some giveaways we're going to talk about, some member-only giveaways over at the Nation. But do us a favor on the way in. Smash the like. And make sure you're subscribed to the Mayo Media Network. We're going to be right here every single Thursday with this show for you guys. Got my guys with me, as always, Hoopster and Title, the same crew that you know. Hoop, I'll bring you in first, man. What's going on? Football is back, baby. We're here.
Yeah, we are back, man. It's time to clock in. You know, the off season went well for the SHIPIT Nation team, the SHIPIT Nation community. PGA season was a big success. MLB season has been a big success. MMA has been an absolute smash personally, but not only for me, but for the members. We're going for 4 in a row in the 555 this weekend. Excited for that. But NFL just hits a little different. And I'm not saying anything that you guys don't know. I mean, it's we talked about yesterday. It's Christmas Eve yesterday. Yesterday is Christmas Eve. Today is Christmas Day. Very, very excited. You know, just one little quick story, personal note. This morning, sent the kids off to school. My son takes off earlier than my daughter. Is like, you know, football's back tonight. Ravens, Chiefs. He's a big Chiefs fan. He's like, oh, he goes, that's awesome. I want to watch the game. Can I make some fantasy teams with you? I'm like, yeah, you're in, man. It's kind of the first year he's kind of into it. He knows the players. I said, we'll talk when you get back from school. Ship my daughter off. She's a couple years older, going into 7th grade. And I was like, you know, football's back tonight. She goes, oh, that means you're just going to be in the office a lot more, right? I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, until about February. You can count on that. She goes, oh, okay, Dad. So it's funny, you know, tale of two stories. The boy's ready to roll, start gambling. Daughter, you know, she knows what's up, kind of taking the wife route. So, man, we're excited, obviously, to get things rolling here. A lot of the content already up over at shipitnation.com. One of the big commitments that we make to our members in our community. We get our stuff up nice and early, so you're able to digest it, get in there, get in our Discord, ask some questions. If there's any changes, we make note of it on the content. We'll notify the Discord, but a lot of our stuff already up, ready to roll. And very excited to kick off our shows this year. I mean, it's you know, every showdown slate, the 3 of us will be here. Main slate will be going Saturday morning over on the SHIPIT Nation channel, and just excited and ready to roll.
Yeah, more on that. We'll have a giveaway in a second, but you talk about people going the wife route. We got the husband route. We got the new married man, Titletown. Happy to be back with you, my friend, and the wedding looked awesome. Congrats to you and your bride. Looked like you guys all had a great time. How you doing, my friend? Good to be back here with you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Definitely excited to be talking 3-man booth multiple times a week. I mean, come on. Millie tonight, Millie tomorrow, Millie Sunday, and right in between there's MMA on Saturday, Tambo, week 1 of the qualifier. Hoop going for 4 straight. College football going on, some NASCAR, PGA. We'll be back in a little bit. The one thing I want to say from the top, it's very easy to get carried away with your bankroll. Bankroll management is the most important thing. I was writing up my MMA slate plan. Wanted to say it on this show. There's billions of tournaments out there. You're going to see huge screenshots. People winning life-changing money. You need to stay in the game to have a chance to do that. So it's really easy to put all your eggs in one basket today. A lot of slates for a lot of months coming up. Stick with Bankroll Management for sure. But come on now, excited to talk some football. And I see Jordan take that off. Jerick McKinnon will always be on my body when the Chiefs are playing. So excited to talk some football.
This was a good one, too. Buddy gave his wife a 2-week notice. Resign from all daddy and husband duties. You got to just curve them a little bit, right? Like you said, talk to the kids, get them building some lineups with you, whatever that might be. Let's go back and see. Nate D was here bright and early. We got Sean with us, M. Patrine, Jordan, Mike, Justin, Brian. Appreciate all you guys and more being here with us. But just want to handle a couple quick things off the top, and we're not going to mess around. Going to get right to it here on the Mayo Media Network. Make sure you're subscribed. But Mayo posted this out. He's talked about it a ton, but if you're not in it already, now is the time. So you got to go over. It's a $25K pick and pool over on Underdog. All the rules are listed here. $5,000 for first, a nice even payout structure. A lot of people getting paid out. You just simply go to the form, sign up, get yourself in. All the rules are there, and you'll be able to hop in to that. So go check that out. Do us a favor. Mayo does a lot for everybody in this industry, so make sure you're helping him out as well and helping yourself out. Lots of money to be won this NFL season. That's just another way to do it. You guys saw the video off the top. We'll get to our giveaways right off the hop. We got a few of them and then talk more throughout the show. But I posted this out. The team that everyone is talking about, you saw it. Even our guy Elon Musk out there with the SHIPIT tweet. Like, he's got it all covered. But we're giving away $300 Millie Maker tickets for Sunday. So you go over to this post, you repost or quote it, and then reply or quote with team #ShipIt. Want to throw the rocket ship on there? You can. Make sure you like it. There's a second way, though, a bonus way to get in. Our YouTube station, Hoop just talked about it. We'll be back there on Sunday for our main slate show, tentatively 9:45 a.m. Eastern. We'll also have our Monday Night Football version of this show over on that channel. Almost 7,500 subscribers, just about a year and a half, just under maybe, whatever it might be. But either way, trying to get to 10K as soon as possible. Going to do some giveaways at 8K, 9K, and then a big one at 10K. But you go over to the channel, the main featured video. It's the launch show from yesterday, streamed 21 hours ago. Go into that and comment team #ShipIt, and then watch the video. It tells you everything we got going on over at the site. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and leave a comment to get into the contest. So that's going to do it for that. Hoop, anything else you want to talk about with the site before we hop in and start breaking down these captains?
No, I mean, we did a launch show yesterday. If you haven't had a chance, go back and check that out. It's over on the SHIPIT Nation channel. We just break down everything that we're offering this football season, what you kind of expect, what you get, price tag on everything, which, spoiler alert, is the cheapest in the industry, which should come to nobody's surprise because that's one thing that we promised from the beginning and we've held true to and we'll continue to hold true to. But yeah, we did the video yesterday breaking it all down. So if you have any specific questions, check out that video, or you can obviously reach out to us. But the one thing that I mentioned in the opening, we get our stuff up nice and early, and I'd say like 90% of what we're offering is for this showdown slate is already up and live on the website right now.
Yeah, projections, ownership, the stone, which I'm going to bring it all up. We're sharing the secrets today. You guys are going to get to see it all and more. The core report, the player pool, and the slate plan. Hoop does the player pool. I do the slate plan. We're all involved on the core report, including title for his cash plays. And then a new addition, our guy Scarface, Jerry, this year is hopping on there as well. Our guy Degenerate and his team's got the stone covered with the projections and ownership. So we're going to show all that off. One last quick thing is just if anybody signs up now before Sunday, if you sign up for the monthly, we're going to put everybody that signs up for a monthly in a draw. 3 of those people are going to get upgraded to the annual with Shiptimizer. So the full money package for football. 3 people that buy the annual, whether it's the $299 with Shiptimizer or the $249 without, are going to get upgraded to the 6-month all access. So a full additional month, Shiptimizer for everything, which we'll show off in a second, and all access. And then lastly, you're going to want to be a member today because members only tonight in the Discord, if you're a member watching this, we are giving away 5 $100 Millie Maker tickets. It's going to be 2 hours before lock where we hop into it. So make sure you're in there. Going to have a little bit of fun. Hoopster, you usually do this. I kind of went on before and ran it, but I just went to the site. We're going to use this. I went Shiptimizer NFL. I changed it to Showdown Captain mode. I changed a couple quick things, set it up to run 150. And just in the spirit of time, this can get us right into it. This is what it gave us. So this is what people are looking at here. So I'll start with you, Hoop. We're going to start at captain. Obviously, break this game down. We know what it is. It's a 3-point spread, around a 46.5 total. It seems like it's come down a little. It hovered back, came down a little from there. But right now it's wanting to give me just a dry run, 150, no setup, no rules. Rashee Rice is the main captain. It's giving me 28% of him. It's going to the next value wide receiver with Xavier Worthy, obviously Hollywood Brown out. So it's going to him. Mahomes, 16%, Pacheco, 10%, limited Ravens just off the hop. So your first thoughts on the captain position here as we get right into this?
Yeah, I like doing this, just to see. I mean, this obviously has our projections loaded, so you could do this with any projection site, but I'd imagine you'd end up with something relatively similar to this. I mean, wherever you go today, Rashee Rice is going to look like the best value play, and that's why we're getting the most of him in the captain spot. Worthy is showing up as a good value play. That's why we're getting a lot of him. But I think the big picture item here is what you kind of touched on right out of the gate is you see the first four players are Chiefs, and then you start to see Lamar Jackson, then you see Mark Andrews. Is that going to be indicative of what we see when the slate locks tonight? Is it going to be Chiefs heavy in the captain spot? And my initial lean is, yeah, I think that is probably going to be the case. And I think ownership is going to be relatively similar. I'd say Lamar Jackson probably ends up higher than 10% that we're showing here, but he's going to be the highest owned Raven in that captain spot. But will there be four Chiefs ahead of him would be the big question that I have going into the slate. And again, we'll break it all down and talk about it. But that's one thing that definitely stands out. Can you click over to the flex and just see, is there anything like crazy? Are we getting a ton of a cheap guy that we don't want or anything along those lines? And no, not really. So, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Rashee Rice up there at the top. I think that definitely makes sense. That's probably what we're going to see on this slate. And I will say, I haven't built my teams yet. I'll be doing that later this afternoon, and then I will go in to our website and upload my specific projection or my specific exposures right to the website so you can see what I'm on. But I think this is going to probably play out pretty similar to what we're seeing here. There is not like a standout cheapie on the slate that a lot of people are going to want to go to. They're going to want to stick with, in most of their lineups, probably kickers and above or defenses and above. We're not going to see too many cheap guys come in with super high ownership. So I think what we just ran here is probably going to be along the right path of what we do see when the slate locks this evening.
Yeah, and you talked about it too. You can go obviously, spot by spot here, just so you can set it up and go off of it. Just so you see, like you can check the DST. What's it giving us for defense? You can check what it's given us in the flex specifically, like you talked about, tight ends, where we're at there. So you can kind of go through all of it and see what your exposures are like. And then from there, you can start to get your ideas from that title. Do you have any sort of just intro comments? Obviously, a lot of new people joining us for a new season. They're back. Maybe they're not used to an optimizer, anything along those lines, just how you would use this and how you might apply it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I try and think like logically too. We do know football. So you incorporate numbers and actually knowing ball, as people like to say. The Ravens, 3-point dogs. Derrick Henry, you look at his price right there. There's Lamar Jackson, there's Derrick Henry, there's Mark Andrews, really, and Zay Flowers. You look at Lamar, he's a good play, but he's also 1K more than Mahomes. You get Rice and Kelsey and Pacheco, who all project better. Zay Flowers is right in between at 8K, in between Pacheco at 8.4, Rice at 7.6, so naturally he's going to be lower owned. Henry at 9K, priced above Pacheco, above Rice, 3-point dogs. Not the best matchup on paper, so naturally he's going to be lower owned there. Andrews will be the one. Andrews and Lamar, the most popular Ravens captains. Andrews has a good price at 6.4. But again, if you plug him in at captain, his pricing's pretty soft in the fact of, like, the kickers are fairly priced. Xavier Worthy only 5.8. Rice is way too cheap. Pacheco has no pretty much competition. They just signed Pirine a week and a half ago, but Pacheco legit could see 100% of snaps today, and I wouldn't be surprised. So there's just, with Mahomes, there's Rice, there's Pacheco, there's Worthy, there's Kelsey, there's no Hollywood Brown, so we'll be mixing and matching some wide receivers threes. It's just a lot more options and easier to see some of these Chiefs getting there and for the prices, which is the reason that we do see this ownership at captain going a lot more KC side. And for me, we'll talk about captain, but there's only so many Ravens that I'm even fine throwing in captain. Like, I think Bateman's a fine flex play. I mean, points are going to be scored today. Is he going to go out there and get 2 touchdowns? I don't really see it too much that way. So I like running the Shiptimizer, seeing that. Then comparing pricing, how we look at it, and it makes sense why a lot more people are gravitating to the Chiefs and the captain.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the cheaper captains and putting them in there because like Jordan was sort of speaking what you were saying, the softer pricing, probably won't see too many guys under that. We didn't really see it till later, but one quick note on that is the optimizer showed it. Shiptimizers are optimized. You guys can go check it out on the site. But just to note was because the two quarterbacks were so popular in flex, it was at least putting one of those cheaper guys in because regardless who your captain was that paired up with them, it was still wanting to get Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in there, and it's easy to do it because some of those guys can fit in. We'll talk about some of the punt plays later on, like a Carson Steele. You mentioned the Pirine stuff. All of that we'll mention, but B-Wald brings it up too. This is when NFL is officially back, when we get the posts on Twitter around that, right? Fingers crossed, like Hoop said. We don't get that, but
yeah, I might be cheering for it. That's a way to solo ship today, Tambo. You know that.
Yeah,
but you remember what happened last year? Those defenses, they had a couple good weeks, and then they got so popular. And
but today, you think Chiefs, Baltimore at the prices?
I think the defenses will get. I mean, not popular. They're going to get ownership because there's not many cheap plays. I mean, there's not many cheap plays that people feel comfortable with, so they will get owned. It's not going to be a crazy.
They'll go the kickers if they need.
Oh, kickers for sure. But I'm saying, like, we don't have the $100 or $200 guy or the $1,000 guy. Yes, you can make the case for some guys down there, but there's no standout plays down there. People are going to want to stop at like defense. Well, how much are the defenses? I didn't even look because that's how much I
36 and 4K. Play them.
That's as cheap as people are going to want to go when building teams.
Aguilar's 3-4, Bateman 5-2. There's Bucker for 4-6.
We're talking about the captains here. I'm with title. It's not in captain. You'll see way more.
You weren't talking in captain, were you?
No. I was talking flex.
In flex, yeah. You ain't.
I'm not playing him in captain.
No.
Yeah, the kickers either or. I can tell you right now, without running anything, the captain. It's gonna be way more popular that people are on kickers, and you just don't need it. There's so many other values here if you want to make it work that people are happy to fit in. You can go to Bateman, you can go to Watson. People are going to play some Aguilar. People are going to play some Steele, Noah Gray, Isaiah Likely. There's just so many guys that you can get to before you need that. So I think those will be a way to get different tonight for sure. Let's stick to captain then and go back to it, however you guys want to look at it. Let's go to captain and talk about it directly. And I'm just going to go to the Stone on the site. It's the easiest way to do it. Best tool in DFS. Just go NFL, the Stone. If you don't have on the desktop, you can just pull it up on your mobile with the PDF file, but this just breaks it down. I think I can maybe I got to go back one and get both games on the screen at the same time, but this gives us an overview of it all. But let's talk from the captain perspective first, Hoop. And, we already looked at what we saw there. My thing I was going to say quickly was just I use the projections as a guideline to see what everybody else is doing, right? Like if everyone's going to have Rashee Rice, and I'll have him too. I like him up top. That's, spoiler alert, but everybody does. Is I'm going to look for different ways. Is it Pacheco instead that I use up top? Is it Kelsey? Is it Mahomes, who I never really play on the main slate in that? Again, they'll all have some ownership, but it's just how you're using them and what you're doing to get different than the rest of the field. So give us your first thoughts on captain here, Hoop, just both teams up on the screen, Ravens, Chiefs.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the same, I don't know, like 7 or 8 captains are going to get a large majority of the ownership, and I could see it getting spread out some. The quarterbacks are clearly going to get some. It's going to be Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I think, Mahomes is cheaper, so he probably gets a little bit more ownership than Lamar Jackson. And then you're going to see people comfortable playing Pacheco. He's probably projected to get a majority of the work, but I am a little skeptical that we'll talk about it a little bit more on his workload. I just can't imagine game one of the regular season, knowing how important he's going to be, that they're just going to jam this guy for, 25 touches. Not saying that he won't get enough to pay off his price tag, but I don't think it's like the slam dunk that he gets, so many touches. Rashee Rice is going to be very popular. We saw it just because mostly the price tag, 7,600 flex, 11.4 in the captain spot. You can still build an all-star team with Rice in the captain. And, wide receivers or pass catchers have an advantage on DraftKings with the full PPR and the bonuses. So people are going to love him. Probably a guy that you look at I haven't looked at cash builds or anything, but Rashee Rice is probably a captain you potentially play up there tonight because you're going to be able to put him up there and then probably get both quarterbacks and work in a kicker or something along those lines. That's probably what cash teams will look like. Worthy will get the ownership because of the price tag. He's kind of, solidified the number 2 2 role, and number 2 wide receiver in Patrick Mahomes' offense is a very valuable spot. I mean, very, very valuable spot. And then Travis Kelce will obviously get some ownership. Zay Flowers will get some ownership. Mark Andrews. So I think, 90% of the captain spot is Lamar, Mahomes, Pacheco, Worthy, Rice, Kelce, Andrews, Flowers. Like, they're going to take up basically everything. So if you're doing anything outside of that, you're probably going to be a little bit different. I personally probably won't be doing anything outside of that, and I'll probably make some cuts on some of those guys. And one guy that does not look like is getting much in the captain spot is Derrick Henry. So maybe if you're into him, which, me personally, that's going to be a pass for me, and it could honestly be a pass for me in the flex as well. I might just straight up fade Derrick Henry. Again, haven't built my teams, but that's a stand I might potentially make today. I don't feel super comfortable with the 9K price tag. I don't think the workload is an absolute slam dunk like some people think, but anything out of those main 7 or 8 that I mentioned, you're going to be different. But it just feels like it's going to be one of those dudes that's the optimal captain tonight. So that's my thoughts there in the captain spot.
Nade's brought up Watson. Shout out to our guy Mark F. I know he's been away in Italy. He's coming back. He was a second Millie Maker winner at the Nation last season. He had a Watson captain, no Mahomes, and made it all work on a night when everyone was jamming studs up top, and he just flipped the script, kind of how you could do it tonight. You go back and look up that lineup. And then where's my guy Brad? He figured it out. He forgot this. We never use this one because, the gray area of crossing the line from churches and coming back. But SINS stands for Ship It Nation Success, and you're always welcome to confess your sins over on the testimonials portion of our website. All your Ship It Nation success, come confess. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Title, I'm going to go back to you for these captains. You and I typically, I know someone, I think it was B-Wald saying earlier, you got married, you're not a team player. We team up on Hoop in these, we're like team unique. He's Hoop Dupe. It's me and you are trying not to do that, right? We're team unique over here. So what's the plan? What are we doing up top with these captains?
Well, I might have to start following Hoop. The dude keeps shipping everything.
That
so
is
maybe
true.
I got to switch. And I did like, that was smooth, Tambo. First show of the year, that sins and everything. You're on top of your game. I like it.
I was teasing. I tricked you pre-show.
Yeah,
you did.
Better than the shit you dropped on us pre-show for sure. And I called it. I was like, this guy's going to get on the show and just nail a one-liner right in our face after this donkey-ass one-liner he dropped on us.
You're absolutely right about
Sandbagging him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got to be on Hoop side on this. I don't see myself playing any other captains besides those 8. I can make pivots in the flex. Like, I'd rather leave 2K and drop from Rice to Worthy or something, not exactly 2K, something like that in the flex than I would play a Bateman, play a Justice Hill, play a Justin Tucker. Like, I think it's going to be one of those 8 guys Hoops are talking about. So how I'm going to talk a little bit is if you play Mahomes in the captain, I want at least 2 pass catchers. Yes, he has some sneaky legs. He can maybe get there that way. In most scenarios, he gets there 2, maybe 3. Like, I'm totally good jamming 3 pass catchers. 4 wouldn't even be the crazy if you had like a Noah Gray. Now, if I'm playing a Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews, I definitely want Lamar in the flex. It is a way to get difference, but if they're going up, like, we know Lamar has the rushing upside. If Andrews or Zay has a big enough game, that might be 102 touchdowns, something like that. I'm expecting Lamar to outscore Mahomes and follow through. On the flip side, I do think a way to get different in some line is if you go a Rice captain or a Worthy captain, you can go no Mahomes and just think like Lamar on the other side rushes for 100 yards, maybe rushes one in, he's 1,000 more and outscores him in a vacuum. And you don't need Mahomes in the flex. Like, Rice can go out there and get you 11 catches. I do like it a little more with Rice than Worthy because Worthy's just a speedster. Like, he catches one, it could be 70 yards, and obviously that's a big boost to Mahomes. But the Kelce's of the world who could have 2-3-yard touchdowns, we've seen it multiple times. Or Rice right in the middle of the field, 10 catches, 85 yards, a touchdown or 2. Lamar could outscore a Mahomes 23-point game on the other side. And yes, he is 1,000 more, but that's the little stuff to get different. We're almost 200,000 people in this tournament tonight if you're playing the Millie, which we're talking about. And I guess throwing back a little bit, have a plan. Like, if you are playing this really big stuff, is your goal to unique ship or 6 figures at minimum? Well, if your goal is that, obviously no, you're probably going to lose. I mean, if you're playing any of these tournaments, you're going to lose a lot more than you win. but especially expect to lose. If you're throwing 2 bullets in, any chop up in first place, 300 people, it's going to pay nice. You will wake up the next morning and be happy. So if that's your goal, then you don't need to worry about this stuff as much. If you're playing a Rice or Worthy and you just want to take first place, probably play Mahomes in there because it's more likely that happens. But again, you talked a good bit, Tambo, last year about building your stuff in groups. And I think I'm going to take that from you, where maybe some lineups, 30 lineups, you know what, if I have 100 dupes, I'm good with that. I'll take that in my portfolio. I'm definitely going to have some where I'm shooting 10 or less, 20 or less, maybe not solo because I'm not going to get too crazy as I'm talking about captains, but a way to get different. Again, a Worthy, a Kelsey, a Rice, no Mahomes there. Hope Lamar outscores them. I like Pacheco, though, like player takes wise. I'll be playing all of them, mixing there. I like Pacheco. I'm different than Hoop. I think he's going to get 90+% of the work, be a workhorse. The Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, like, I'm just naturally going to play them because I talked about it earlier. They're just going to get squeezed because of their price. Derrick Henry has the best touchdown prop on the slate, actually. It's kind of hard, I will say, to look at these touchdown props after how bad DraftKings posted them, but it is worth noting. -130 for Henry to score. -105 is the next best for Pacheco. So he's a favorite to score a touchdown. I mean, they get to like the 5-yard line. It's not Lamar QB sneaking it every time. You could see a Derrick Henry 67 yards, 70-yard game and 3 touchdowns if they just fall near the goal line. So I'll be playing those Ravens to get different in the captain spot. But again, I'm with Hoop. I'm mainly playing those 8 guys, and I just don't see myself taking shots on these flyers. I'll try and get different in the flex spot.
Yeah, a lot of things we do here. One is we definitely make sure we get after those likes. So as our guy Degenerate75 says, lots of people watching, not enough likes, just takes 2 seconds. So while that's on the screen, 1, 2, bang, hit the like button. It's easy. Get that done for us, please. This might break my heart more than defenses. This guy always does break slates for some reason. We'll talk more when we go position by position later, but I don't have him up top in the captain or anything. But I think that's the key. The other thing we do is talk about what title went through there. And it's not about, why this guy is the winning captain in the play. Nobody knows going into the slate. What we know is a lot of other information, and we're trying to figure out how is the field playing? How are we going to play against that? And what is our goals? What is our mindset? We talk a ton about that over at Ship It Nation with the education course. But like Title said, what you're looking to do, and I'm looking to ship with as little people as possible. But to Title's point, we talk about building in sets all the time, groups, however you want to call them. But it's almost like a stock portfolio. Like you might have some with Apple and Tesla and these stocks that are just sort of blue chips that you sit on that they're not going to 10x, 15x, 20x overnight, but pretty good place to put it. These lineups look good. I have this set of those lineups. If it happens the way we expect it to happen, I might still have one that pops, but maybe that's 30 of my lineups. And then the other 120, I go 60 one way, 60 another. And then I try and get some of that leverage that we're looking for. And I think you guys both said it best. The captains themselves feel kind of set in stone. I'll just show it on, speaking of set in stone, the stone over here. We only have our initial ownership projections up right now, but it's already clear to me, and this will all be updated by the time we get to the main lock and well before too. But to Hoop's point, things are going to start to spread out. Like Rashee Rice, we already have him higher than most of the industry. That's probably about right. But some of the other ones are going to start to spread out. And I think it's actually going to pull from Lamar and Mahomes the most. I think we're going to see them come back down more to like the 14, 15 range. And those are things that you have to factor in when you're looking at it. And one of the things that would stand out to me is that then you would be able to get even more leverage on them in the captain spot. Like we're seeing Mahomes, we're seeing Lamar Jackson look pretty good. Mahomes or Pacheco, who both look pretty good, are technically leverage off of the Rice play, especially if he gets a bunch more ownership late. Like if we think he's going to scheme up a bunch, then that's just a way to flip it a little bit. He can still have a big game, but only be needed in the flex because it's somebody else up top. I like Title's take where you could actually have a guy like Rice up top, not need whatever he gets from, it could be 5, 100 and a touchdown. And that doesn't mean much for Mahomes besides those stats if he doesn't do that much more. What if a bunch more is Pacheco? What if they do get halted and it's, Butker and short passes to Kelsey and these guys? Then it's not necessarily that you need him. And all you would probably need in that case, because you'd still have money to spend or likely to use, is Lamar Jackson on the other side, getting 100 on the ground, throwing for 150 and throwing a touchdown or two or something like that. So it is alternative ways to still get there. And that's kind of what we're looking at. But I think, that one is interesting. So just flipping the Rice stuff to, and even Worthy to Pacheco and Mahomes it's not going to be about the captain pool you use, because a lot of people are using the same 8 guys. It's where you leverage those 8 guys and how much you play of each. Like, Hoop, you've talked about this in the past, saying, you know what, forget 8 guys. I'm going to drop it to 5. But I know tonight that if everyone's going to play, 20% Mahomes, I'm going to play 40 of him and then separate my remaining 60% out to these other 4 guys in that example. You know what I mean? So there's other ways that you can get leverage within the plays that you're actually using, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how I've had a lot of success in Showdown, just consolidating my captain player pool. Just say, I think it's going to be one of these 2 or one of these 3 guys, and then just getting rid of everything, because it does get spread out. People will play sprinkles of these random cheap dudes too. But I am struggling to do that on this slate, I will admit. Like, it just seems like it could be any of those 8 guys that is the captain, the optimal captain tonight. So I got to see when I go in there and build teams. But I wanted to touch on a couple points that both of you guys made. Most recently, Tambo, about the quarterback ownership, how you think that it ends up coming down a little bit, the captain ownership. I agree with you there, because people are going to go through, start building teams. They're going to say, man, I can take my Patrick Mahomes captain team and just flip that to Rashee Rice in captain, and then I can get an upgrade somewhere else without many super cheap appealing plays, which we'll get to in a minute. People probably do that when they start looking at 2v2s. Like, all right, if I take out this expensive captain and put a cheaper captain in there, I don't have to endure as many punts, or I don't have to endure as much ownership on really cheap punts. So I think that is what ends up happening. And I think it probably is more from Lamar than it is Mahomes because of the price tag. I mean, it's Lamar he's $1,000 more expensive. He's $1,500 more expensive than Mahomes in the captain spot. So I could see a scenario where Lamar Jackson, not low owned, don't get me wrong, but is low. This is the term I like to use, lower owned than what the industry is projecting. Another point that Title made, I think is really good too, like with the the rules, and saying, if I have Rashee Rice in the captain, I'm forcing all my teams to have Patrick Mahomes. If you can play the scenario out in your head where Rashee Rice is the optimal captain, but like he said, Lamar Jackson finds a way to outscore him by 4 fantasy points, and it's Lamar Jackson over Mahomes and everything else plays out. If you can play that scenario out and it's realistic, build some teams like that, because most people just set hard and fast rules. They're not building in sets. They're going to say, if they're doing 150 teams, okay, any Rashee Rice captain team has to have Mahomes, and they're just going to run their teams, and it's going to be like that. Like, they're not going through and specifically looking at those lineups and changing it. So it's a lot of hard and fast rules. And one thing I've noticed with Showdown DFS, man, like, people can, as we talked about last year, rule themselves out. You can have the perfect player pool, you can have the perfect ownership, but if you set one rule that excludes you from having that optimal team, it was all for nothing. It was all for nothing. You put in the work all day long on getting the right percentages, the right captains, the right flex guys. You set one rule, it can take you out of contention to shipping a GPP. So one piece of advice for sure, like, don't rule yourself out of winning. And something we talked about a lot last year, and something we'll definitely hit on all of this year.
Yeah, people using the SHIPIT are going to be putting these rules in, and it's like, if Rice is the captain, put Mahomes as the flex in 100% of my lineup. Someone builds that. I'm not saying that's bad. That's obviously a pretty good rule, but you can do something like that in the SHIPIT, to Title's point, to say, okay, in 80% of my Rice captain lineups, I want it set up to get Mahomes. The majority of the time I want that, but I'm not afraid to get some of my lineups without it. And this will cap it out so that it works out that way. So you can always move the needle. And that's the power of having a good optimizer. Again, the SHIPIT is the optimizer designed to help you ship. We've got other rules and things like that you can build in where you could set it up that way. And just, again, watching these shows, that's what we're going to be talking about. Not just, it's this play to win all the money tonight, and then you're mad when that doesn't hit for you. We don't know in advance what it's going to be. Nobody does. We know theory, strategy, correlation, leverage, and we know what we're going up against. And that's really what the focus is, what we're trying to find up against these other teams. So Title, real quick on captains, and then we'll move on to the position by position. And because we've talked about a lot of these guys, that'll probably move a little bit quicker today. But just of note, the cheap captains up top, we did spend a couple minutes on it, but any thoughts on what I mentioned earlier, like with our guy Mark F? It's very clear tonight people are spending up at the captain, whether it's Mahomes, Rice, Jackson, Pacheco, Zay, however you get there, is there any thought about flipping the build and just being a little bit comfortable being uncomfortable in that, like Hoop said, you can easily just flip it and get somebody that's better to upgrade your lineup. But what if you go the other way to get more studs overall versus having to have that one punt play or one low tier price play?
I don't love it. Part of the reason I don't love it too is there's going to be a lot of 150 maxers that are going to be sprinkling guys like this. And even just say you play Nelson Aguilar in the captain, just say you leave $400. It's not going to be as low duped as you might think because, all right, everyone's going to go Lamar. You have the money for Mahomes, so then you go Mahomes. Oh, Rice looks good. And you're kind of then playing a 1v1, 2v2. So even if you do that, you really should still be cautious in this really high field or large field stuff. You still have to get different somewhere. And again, I would just rather, if I did play anyone down there, Xavier Worthy and below, it would be Rashad Bateman and by a mile because he's the wide receiver too. He'll be on the field a lot. And it's only one game we're talking. Now his target share has been awful. It's going to be Zay, Andrews, Derrick Henry, Lamar himself first. But at least I want a guy that's going to be on the field majority of the time. Bateman would be the guy. Yeah, I see her building it out right now there.
You're officially back. I'm doing the points that you and I aligned. I was drawing it up as you were saying it. This is why I brought it up, so we can hit on this for 2 seconds. I think people asked about Likely. They asked about Bateman. There's multiple questions around this. Aguilar could be a thing. I'm just saying if you went with Bateman, it's not like he's free up top. I'm just saying he's obviously much different than Mahomes, Rice, Lamar, Pacheco, Andrews, Zay, Worthy. He has to be the 8th guy at best, if not worse, because people might still go to Henry or something else. So let's just say he's in there. You can get both the quarterbacks, one of the stud kickers. This could obviously be, I'm not going to fill it right out, but I still have 7,700 remaining. I can still get another stud receiver, one of the stud running backs, whatever, and I'm not completely dead. So to me, not sure how we could, fully exclude or hate these lines. I get your own plan is your own plan, like you said, how you can do it. But I'm saying other people may want to consider it because it's not the worst. And obviously this stuff can go your way, right? Like these guys can stay a little bit in check, but you need, instead of these punt plays that don't come through for these higher price captain lineups, you may be able to get away with something like this. And then if Bateman actually does have a big game, you're absolutely going to need this. So any further thoughts on it with that said, and then I'll just pull one more up.
Yeah. And again, I'm thinking most people that watch these shows, like I build the MMA slate plan, 20 teams or less. I think not many are 115. So that's why I'm trying to make a little more stands. Like if I was only playing 20 teams or less, I wouldn't play any of them personally. You can make a case. And again, Bateman's the clear one. It's harder for me to go Justice Hill. You kind of feels like relying on an injury. I don't like going kickers captains. I don't like playing defense captains. Aguilar, I guess maybe, but Bateman would for sure be the one. And why we're talking about all this, again, it's more than just player takes this and that. It's showdown, just like MMA, just like golf showdown. When you win, how much do you win? That's why the little stuff of Lamar over Mahomes in the flex, or like you're doing right here, Likely, all that. You play Likely, and then you still want to make sure you're not zeroing out your dollars or you have some low-ish own pivot because you don't want to share with a million people. One simple pivot can be the difference between 180,000 and a 15-way chop. And then if you make the other pivot to the chalky way, it's 140 people and 28,000. Sure, that's 28,000 no one complains about. But is it 8 times more likely? Bear with me in my math. I know I'm off a little bit. Is that 1v1 8 times more likely to work? More times than not, it's not. And when you do win, you're good for the whole year when you stick within that. Whereas 28K, again, it's a ton. But I know us three will have a lot more than 20K in throughout the whole year. You do need more than that one hit. So, again, when you win, how much you win. Showdown's a whole different ballgame than the main slate. We'll talk someday.
That's why I brought this one up. Is it, it's not likely, but it might be. And if it is, it can pay off in a big way. So that's kind of the setup of when you're doing this, you got to know what you're doing. But all I'm trying to show is, even if you don't want to get to the 2 quarterbacks, you have even more to spend. But there is a chance Likely could get 2 touchdowns. Andrews was in a car accident a few weeks ago. What if they play him lighter? The coaches talk about him all the time. I know people are betting his unders and all this. Again, not likely, but it might be. And if it is, then it can pay off in a big way. And on a showdown slate like this with 196,000 entries, you got to beat. I'm willing to take the chance in some of my lineups to put something like this because I still have 8,350 left to spend on 2 more spots. And I got both quarterbacks and your favorite dude that you're playing up top tonight, Rice. So it's not really about if Rice and Likely swap. Like then you probably could swap it and you end up needing Rice, but then that's also a much bigger chop that you're looking at. So go ahead.
Who are some of your favorites down there, Tambo, below Worthy that you're going to play? Are you playing kickers? Are you playing D? Is it just Bateman?
I'm going to play kickers. I guess, we didn't talk about, the game scheme. Again, not really what we focus on. We spend our time talking about DFS and specifically winning tournaments in DFS and trying to get after it. But I could definitely see where this game leans under. There's still two good defenses out there, two capable defenses. Everyone just expects fireworks and rocket ships and all this stuff like we love over here. But there's definitely a potential for them just to run the ball a bunch more. Just Pacheco, Henry, downhill. We already got Lamar runs it a ton, clock runs, all of that. And then there's also potential for Rice, Zay Flowers. I mean, we're not talking about the top wide receivers in the league. Rice, obviously, in a bit different league, I think. He counts, but not necessarily to the upper echelon of what we're going to see on the main slate on Sunday. I don't give him as much credit, at least. So it would say that there is mistakes that can be made, and it can come down to Butker and Tucker and guys like that. And then you also have those, end of the half, whatever it might be. Just kick the field goal and move on. Take our points. It's tough. These are two really good teams. It's a Super Bowl champion. Got the MVP on the other side. I mean, there's definitely a possibility. So for me, Bateman, both kickers are for sure in consideration. Again, maybe less than 5% up top, but I don't need a ton of lineups with them because I'm just going to build them accordingly, pop them into the portfolio. And if it happens, I won't just have my one Justin Tucker lineup. Like, I got the nuts with Justin Tucker. I'll have a few options. If it doesn't get there, but definitely like the option of being able to go there for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like Tambo's saying, you have 2% of Bateman in your captain. Like that could be with the field. Like, don't just be like, I have 2%. I'm going to have 0 because that one lineup isn't going to ship. It only takes one lineup to ship. And again, it's first or last in Showdown. With what the chop is, usually you don't care about the second nut. So, spreading out your portfolio, everything you've been saying.
Shout out to our guys, Neighbors. He's always in here, man. He's the man. We appreciate you. He says, tight and low scoring. I guess, what's your thought on how the game plays out? And if you like the under 42.5, my friend, let me tell you about the actual total 46.5, and you might like it even more. So, Hoop, any quick thoughts on how the game's going to go? And then we're going to hop right into position by position. Get the same.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you guys are saying, in terms of like the cheaper captains or off the wall captains, like I think a lot of people put them in there and just assume that makes them automatically different than the field, and that's just not necessarily the case. Like when you play those cheap captains, the lineup kind of builds itself, especially if you're hand building. Like don't fill it all the way out and be the same as everyone else, because they're going to be, even guys like Likely. I mean, he's going to get some ownership. So be careful in that aspect. And then the other thing is, if you're going to off the wall captain and you're building multiple teams and he's going to be like 2% owned, don't just play 2%. Like make a stand on it. Play at least 5-6%, good double, triple the field, whatever it may be. I kind of agree with our boy Neighbors. Like I think there's a chance that this is like just a grind it out type of game, to be honest with you. I mean, would I be surprised if it went over? No, but if I was going to place a bet on it, which I'm not, the over under, I'd probably go under. I think these, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson could be a lot of running on that side, and then the Chiefs, I think it would be fine, kind of running it as well. So I'd probably lean the under, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a shootout. NFL, very unpredictable.
Could be a good night for Teaser Nation. You run the under up and you run the Ravens points up, because I definitely think the other thing is the Ravens, being a Ravens fan, they love to show up when it doesn't actually matter. A win's a win. It matters. It's the NFL. It's important to get as many wins under your belt as possible, especially if you can take one from the Chiefs, which will matter later on in the season for the seeding and all that. But my take would be remember last year, I think they were 6-point underdogs to the 49ers, and everyone's, this is a Super Bowl preview, blah, blah, blah. Ravens spanked them. It's because that's how it goes. The Ravens do it when they don't, when they don't have to. They want to win. They get it, but that's what I'm seeing. So I kind of like that if I was doing something tonight. Title, do you have a quick thought on it? And then actually I'll let you, Title, take us into maybe breaking down some of these running backs more. We've talked a ton about these quarterbacks already.
Yeah, I don't really have a strong take. Baltimore didn't play their guys in the preseason. I think both sides, they're going to want to get Derrick Henry going, want to get Pacheco going. So slower to start, but like when you have Xavier Worthy that runs a 4.3 that can take the top off one play is 7 right there, that can change the whole momentum of the game. So I'm definitely not betting the sides. I rarely bet sides or totals in football. It's the sharpest lines out there. So in terms of running backs, I mean, this is where Hoop and I might differ. Like, I'm looking at this as it's Pacheco, and it's pretty much only Pacheco. They do have Samaje Perine that they signed a week and a half ago. How much of the playbook does he know? Like, I'm not putting him in the McKinnon role on third down like some people are. I would be surprised to see that. Maybe him and Carson Steele do split that a little bit. Again, you're guessing some. I'm gonna be playing a lot of lineups today, so I'd be lying if I'm not Xing out Perine. I'm not Xing out Steele, but I want very few teams with them. I don't like them at the end of the day. I much prefer Justice Hill on the other side. Justice Hill will get work. Keaton Mitchell's on the IR. He's a way different back than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's not a 3-down running back. Third downs, Justice Hill is going to be there. He can catch 4 passes. He's explosive. I think Justice Hill is a very interesting pivot from Bucker, who's $200 more. Tucker is $600 more. Then you got both defenses lower, Aguilar lower. So Justice Hill is someone I'm going to be looking at a little bit. And just say they get down 14, 17. Well, they're not going to pound the football with Derrick Henry in I formation. It's going to be a lot of Justice Hill right there. So I like him. I'll definitely play some. And then, Pacheco Henry. I like Pacheco. I definitely do. The Derrick Henry stuff is more of a game theory play because of his price, 3-point underdogs. But he's minus 130 to score. So, I'm going to have some lineups where instead of playing Kelsey, I play Derrick Henry. Or the Rashee Rice stuff, I guess that price is a little lower. But Henry's going to be a lot lower than Pacheco. He's going to be lower than Kelsey. There's Mahomes and Lamar higher. He just has to get squeezed at the end of the day. So, and again, I vividly remember the Bears game last year, the Roshan Johnsons, the Khalil Herberts of the world, multiple running backs of them were on the winner. I'm not going to group away Derrick Henry and Justice Hill for that reason, meaning Derrick Henry can go rushing 2 touchdowns, Hill at 4K or 4.4K, catches 4 passes. He's in the 2-minute drill. 9 points is enough down there. So I'm not making any rules. The Steele Perine, maybe max 1. I probably would do that, but somehow they're going to find their way on there. But it's Pacheco and Justice Hill is interesting to me.
Hoop, I'll let you talk about it real quick there. The running backs, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, we've got him up here. We just talked about the Perine versus Steele. Obviously, Pacheco, cash consideration. You can use him for everything, but just in general, how you're handling these running backs on this slate.
Yeah, let me, I guess, just clarify the Pacheco thing. Like, I think he's the best running back play on the slate, but I don't think that they're just going to run this guy into the ground. Like, I think he gets majority of the carries, obviously. He has some pass catching upside as well. I could see them getting creative with some end arounds and things like that to maybe limit the number of touches. They're not going to, jam him, run him into the ground week 1 of the NFL season. This is a team that wants to win the Super Bowl. So I think he's the best running back play on the slate, but I don't think he's going to get like 25 touches or anything crazy like that. Second favorite running back play is Justice Hill by a mile. I think Justice Hill is a phenomenal play. 4,400, great price tag, price right there with the kickers. The kickers are going to be higher owned. I think Justice Hill could get a lot of work in this game. My initial lean on the Derrick Henry situation is that the reason they brought him in is for goal line stuff. Yes, they're going to use him all throughout the field, but they want him inside that 10-yard line, inside that 5-yard line to, take away maybe some of those Lamar Jackson hits. So I could see them using Justice Hill a lot, 20 to 20-yard line in the middle of the field. So I think he has a bigger role than a lot of people are projecting. I get the minus 130 to score a touchdown, but I don't even know. That just doesn't even seem like all that of an impressive number for a guy that should get the goal line work. Obviously has had a lot of success scoring touchdowns. I'm not super impressed with that 130 number.
Free money Thursday. That's just jam it. He's going to jam one. It just may not matter for Showdown because he's 9K or whatever. So
I mean, maybe he does get one. I don't know. Perine. The thing with his price tag at 3K, like he could get there in one drive. Like if he does get a 2-minute drive at the end of a half, he could get all his points. He could get 4 catches to end a half or something and get there in a 2-minute span. So I do like him. And then I do want to include this Carson Steele guy. You guys said he did good in the preseason. I'll pay attention to preseason at all.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Okay, yeah. So
Clyde hasn't been in there. They just signed P. Ryan. Pacheco didn't go, so yeah, he knows the playbook.
Yeah, so I think he does get some work, and at 200, I'll have some. I mean, it's not going to be like a crazy amount, but I will include Steele in my player pool. So like Pacheco and Hill the most, I will probably have some Derrick Henry. I think he's better, much better suited on teams where you're fading Lamar Jackson. I think Derrick Henry's a great guy. If you're a hand builder and you can't get to Lamar, Derrick Henry is definitely a guy I'd put into those sort of teams. But yeah, kind of where I'm at. Really like Justice Hill. So Justice Hill will be a key part of what I do tonight at 4,400.
I just have a sneaky feeling that Henry is just, again, I don't play much best ball, like literally almost zero. I don't play much season-long fantasy either. I have to play sort of the family ones and the friends ones that I'm in. But everybody just says he's absolute dust. There's no way, he's not worth the ADPs and all this stuff. They keep going on about it. And he is healthy, but at the same time, it's just goal line stuff. If Gus Edwards can jam 3 touchdowns, multiple games, can't Derrick Henry just do that? To me, he definitely can. The other thing is it just, when everyone's down on a guy, that's sort of when they show up. So I could definitely see where he comes into play. But one of the most interesting things to me was, again, watching a ton of Ravens football last season. Remember, everyone was pissed off for fantasy because you got Lamar vulturing, you got it was J.K. Dobbins, it was Gus Edwards, it was anybody and everybody that they could run out there. But it confuses it confuses the shit out of the defense, and it tires them out. They already got to deal with Lamar. Now they got to deal with big Derrick Henry. Now Justice Hill. So I really like the Justice Hill take because there's just lots of different ways you can use him. He's shifty, flip it out, over the top, all these different things. So I just think he's a guy, like you said, at his price point, it's fair. 4,400. It's sort of in that kicker range. And you could just see it where he's a possible candidate here to get in on the action. I think him, Bateman, some of those guys are about to transition to wide receiver anyway, definitely show up for me more than some of these other riskier punts. I think Carson Steele's the one. He's $200 that obviously he's going to find his way into some rosters because of that. And again, I think P. Ryan would be the one, the Chiefs are up big and we're just watching the check downs to him late or something as they're just killing the clock. And we're like, oh my God, he's about to win someone $1 million if they keep doing these check downs. And so kind of how I just see it playing out, but I'll go back to you, Title, wide receiver. We talked enough, I think, about Rice. We know what it is with him. Worthy a little bit, but the other side, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar breaking the slate people brought up, but just quick thoughts on the wide receiver side of things from you.
Well, you're talking best ball. The complete opposite of Derrick Henry was Rashee Rice. That dude's ADP was, months ago, very few got it, in the 80s, 90s, 50s last month, a month and a half ago, now up to 34. So he's getting all the hype. And yeah, he's a really, really good play, obviously. But if you're trying to pull Coles, he's going against very good cornerbacks, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey. They're not going to shadow probably, but it's a good defense. Patrick Queen in the middle. Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. You're looking at $1,600, $1,800 difference. I will have lineups where you hand build, you plug in Rice, you take Rice out, you go Worthy. That's the stuff right there that can eliminate a lot of dupes. And I like Worthy a lot. He has to play. With no Hollywood there, he's going to be on the field almost every single snap. An absolute burner. Looked really good in the preseason too. He just is mispriced at the end of the day. So Rice and Worthy, two of the most mispriced players on the slate. There's some lineups you can go Kelsey all the way down to Worthy. I don't think that's the craziest thing. Now, maybe you'd want to upgrade somewhere else in the middle, but that shows that you can leave salary, and that's a way that I'm going to be looking at to get different, especially because I'm not going to be punting too many of these captains. I'll be eating more chalk at captain.
What about Juju?
Yeah, so then there's Justin Watson as wide receiver 3 that Nate was talking about. Then they have Sky Moore, Juju, and McCole Hardman. I'm going to make a rule, max one of all those guys, and I think Juju and Sky are my least favorites. But you're just guessing at the end of the day. I don't know what Andy Reid's going to do. He already came out and said Justin Watson's wide receiver 3. They're going to rotate the other ones. But they're also going to run some 2 tight end sets with Noah Gray. I like Noah Gray more when we get to tight end, more than Juju, more than Hardman, more than Sky Moore. So at the end of the day, I will have very, very few teams with them. I like Carson Steele, I think, more than those other guys down there because he's $200. So I'm going to say Hardman is my favorite of the bums. down there and by a good margin. I might not have any Juju, no Sky Moore. I'm probably going to play some Hardman, hoping he is the number 4. But again, we're guessing. Juju could get some snaps. One catch for 30 yards somehow might get there. But yeah, you're playing more Russian roulette with the wide receiver 4s and stuff on KC. I'll definitely play some Watson, a low ADOT guy. But I mean, Mahomes scrambles and make things happen. We've seen Watson, as you mentioned, Mark F. Really easy on the Ravens side, though. Zay Flowers, Bateman, Nelson Aguilar. I'm not going to be messing with these other guys, the Tyrone Wallace of the world, stuff like that. Again, I think they're going to want to establish it. I think they're going to want to keep Mahomes off the field. Patrick Ricard will be in at fullback a little bit. 2 tight end sets with Likely and Andrews. All of that eliminates 4 receiver sets, getting those guys on the field. So I'm going to keep it to those 3.
I'm pretty good at clipping videos. If you guys didn't see, there's a video earlier. I clipped it out real nice. If you guys want to get in on a $100 Millie Maker ticket draw, you can go to my X account at ToeTagginTambo. Find this, just quote post it or go reply to it and like it with team #ShipIt. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, go to the launch video and put team #ShipIt as a comment for the main launch video from yesterday. But title, my friend, I'm going to clip that runoff of Chiefs wide receivers you just broke down as to imagine playing Mahomes on a main slate with what you just talked about. You literally have no idea. We got Noah Gray, Sky Moore, Super Bowl hero Mecole Hardman. Oh, don't forget about Justin Watson. Juju showed up. They signed P. Ryan. They got this guy. Like, how could you ever play Mahomes on a main slate? We're going to find out this season, but I'll continue. But on this slate, we got to play him at Showdown. So I'm just saying, you did my whole spiel for me.
Worthy might help him. It's Rice, it's Worthy, and it's Kelsey. If Worthy starts the year decently cheap, he's got that 70-yard one pass there. But I'm with you. It's
the way it works. Yeah, you know who it is or who it should be, but then there's always like, but could be this guy. Don't forget about that guy. But by the way, him. Hoop, your thoughts on wide receiver, my friend? I had to get that out there off my chest.
Similar mindset. I mean, Rice looks really good, underpriced, 7,600. Going to be popular. You just eat it. I mean, he had a great connection with Mahomes last year. I mean, finds a way to get open, really good over the middle of the field. I think he's a phenomenal play. Worthy as well. I mean, those are, I think, the safest options at wide receiver, and they probably come with the most ownership. Zay Flowers on the Baltimore side, great play. 8,000, and that's the reason kind of why Rice is going to be so popular. He's cheaper than Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers at 8K, Rice at 7,600. No matter where you look, Rice is projected way more than Flowers in terms of fantasy points. So that's why you're seeing the big difference in ownership. All 3 of those guys are very solid. All those Chiefs guys, to me, are guys that I'm playing in Mahomes captain teams. Like on those teams where you're getting 2 or 3 pass catchers, I'll mix in Watson, Hardman, Sky Moore. I don't know who the hell it's going to be. And if there's someone out there that tells you they do know, they're lying to you because they don't know who the hell it's going to be. Or if it's any of them, it might not be any of them. I mean, that's the most likely scenario, that it's not any of them. And it's
Are
Rice.
You making rules?
Huh?
So you said you're going to keep Juju, Sky, and Hardman in the pool. Are you going to like max? Like, you don't want Juju, Sky Moore in your Mahomes cap.
I wouldn't get that. If I was, I would make a rule where I just want one of those guys. But the overarching rule would be, Mahomes captain. How many pass catchers do I want? If it's 2 or 3, or if you're building in sets like you guys talked about earlier, that's where I would be playing these guys. I don't really want them outside of Mahomes captain teams. When I build my 150, am I going to get a little bit of these guys on non-Mahomes captain teams? Yeah, probably, but a majority of my exposure to these guys I want when I'm playing Mahomes and the captain. I guess is the point that I'm trying to make there. Bateman, Aguilar, not a ton of interest, to be honest with you. These are guys that I could potentially fade. I like the cheap-ish tight ends that we'll talk about more than these guys. So I probably won't have much exposure to Bateman or Aguilar. If I do, it'll be a small amount, or potentially I'll be fading them. But it's kind of where I'm at. I mean, Rice is a standout play. Worthy, Flowers, those are the safest. And outside of that, a lot of question marks here at the position.
Yeah, I'll have final thoughts when I do the slate plan up over on the site, but I will say I did a lot of this last year. People liked it. We're just looking at side versus side. It definitely feels like more people are, just because of the Rices, the Worthies, the Watsons. Even though there's more options to choose from, it's a showdown slate, and it's way more intriguing to figure out the Chiefs side to people than it is on the other side, where there's Zay Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar, guys like Tylan Wallace, Isaiah Likely when we get to tight end, all of that. I don't think as many people want to figure that side out or try to. And like I said, I actually think the Ravens could win this game. I know the guy in here earlier with the Chiefs avatar surprisingly does not think that the Ravens are a very good team, but they matched up just as good. I mean, if Zay Flowers didn't fumble that, if the Ravens didn't play like absolute trash, it's not even the homer in me. There was definitely a spot there that it could have been a different Super Bowl this last year. So didn't work out. Shout out to the Chiefs. They got the job done. You take your L's and you move on. But I do think that they match up just fine. And I think we could see a spot here where just to open up the season, it starts that way. I do want to get quick thoughts before we go to tight end. I got to say, get my feels for a second too. I do feel so good to be back. We're going a little longer on this show. I'm excited. I think we just want to talk more and hang out. And it's awesome to see this chat, everybody in here breaking it down, all the good things that we're talking about. This is really what it's all about. It's the community feel, bringing everybody together, being able to talk about something we love doing, and then hopefully celebrating the success later tonight in the Discord and across with screenshots and fun and prizes and giveaways and all that stuff. So I got to ask real quick. We didn't put this out there earlier. Let's do this one. We'll pull it up. Who do you got? The chat, you got to tell us who you got. We're doing the double whammy. This was so fun last year. Give us your take. Type it into the chat. Who do you got? Baltimore?
With the spread. Mine is 3. The spread is included, obviously.
Even whatever they want. I don't care. Whether you can pick spread or game. Just tell me who wins this game, Baltimore or Kansas City. I want to get a feel from the chat with where they're at. And Title, I'll go to you while they do that. You did bring up Noah Gray, so I'll let you start with the tight ends. Maybe you do start on the Kansas City side, because I will say, one name that didn't come up a lot and usually does and literally got forced on us all last season was Travis Kelce. And I don't know if it's just because it's Rice and Mahomes and Lamar and Pacheco and all this stuff and Henry, then we've been talking about everyone else. But I don't feel like we've been talking much about Travis Kelce either. So again, he always gets ownership. It's Travis Kelce. But it does feel like there's something there today where we're just not hearing about him as much. Give me your quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And like, this is where, yeah, if I knew what ownership was after Locke, that would obviously, he'd be one of the main guys that dictates, because my I know ball and everything is Travis Kelce looked way slower last year toward the end of the year. They have way more explosive guys in Worthy, in Rice. And at his price tag, like I said, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Worthy outscore Kelce. And we're talking almost a 4K difference. You can do a lot of things by dropping down the Kelce and going to some of those guys. It's easier to leave salary, whereas it's harder to leave salary in a Kelce team. I don't love Kelce. And of course, that doesn't mean I'm Xing Kelce or by any means, but I think Noah Gray is going to take some of the snaps. I mean, Kelsey's 35 now. Again, the first game of the year. I'm not playing much Kelce. I like Mark Andrews a lot more because of the price. Again, plug in a Kelce team, go to Mark Andrews. You'll be so much difference leaving that 3,000 or something. Yeah, I'm not playing good. I'm going to be underweight on Travis Kelce. I feel confident in that. I like Mark Andrews. Both the Likely, we talked about it, Likely and Noah Gray. I'm hoping it's one of these backup tight ends or defenses that are on the winner probably at the end of the day, or Justice Hill. Now that I'm talking through it, because I'm not going to be fully punting too much, Noah Gray, Likely, Justice Hill. And I guess I don't even know. I don't like playing defenses against Mahomes because he's just so shifty. He gets the ball out of his hand. He doesn't take many sacks. I like the Chiefs defense a lot more than the Ravens defense because Lamar is a lot more prone to take sacks, run backwards, etc. It's just the ownership on those defenses compared to the kickers that I just lean myself going there. I prefer Ravens D, or I prefer Chiefs D against Lamar, and I prefer Butker a little bit over Justin Tucker. Leave $400, maybe a little different. No strong leans too much on the kickers. Both of these coaches, I think, will be just fine going forward at midfield on 4th and 1 and stuff like that. Or midfield doesn't matter, but a 4th and 1 at the 38-yard line, a 54-yard field goal, or run it with Derrick Henry, or QB sneak it. I do think these coaches might be a little aggressive early, which may be a slight bump down to kickers, but I like playing the ownership game in terms of kickers' defenses. I do think defense will get, I know Hoop doesn't agree, I think overlooked a bit. And the backup tight ends today, they'll be on the field. And that's all that matters to have a chance.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not really if Hoop agrees because we're all friends here, but the numbers tell you already. The quarterbacks are like 60% plus in the flex. Not many people play defense against quarterback. Then they got 10. At least we said it'll be lower in captain, but let's say it's 12 to 15, even though I think it's higher. But let's just say it's somewhere in that range. It could be slightly. It just can't be defense heavy today. And so it's unfortunately just true. There's not going to be very many people using these defenses this game to start the season. And we'll get those thoughts in a minute. I'll let Hoop rebuttal it, but I just think the numbers tell the story. I will say quick, Hoop, our guy Chad is backing his thing up here. He says 45-10. Chad, I'm a man of my word. You come back on Sunday, it's anywhere near that score, and I'll give you your dues. We'll take care of you, man. That's just, I love the confidence in your team, my friend. That's how it should be. So appreciate Chad posting that out there. It is pretty equal on these votes. So we're going to have to break the tie with the next one, and then I'll let Hoop rebuttal and do his thing. But let's throw it up there. Currently around this. Some have it 47. I've seen whatever. But either way, give us your over-under. What do you guys got for your over-under? And go ahead, Hoop. Talk to us.
Donkey.
Winning all the money on week one?
It was going to happen for sure. So I was saying, I wonder what what sort of odds you can get on the alt line for the Chiefs minus 34.5. It's got to be a nice little payout, right?
You can book it with me, Chad. You can book that through me.
Yeah, the Kelsey thing's interesting because, we've been doing the show for over an hour now, and the name really hasn't gotten brought up all that much. It just takes me back now to like our captain and overall thoughts conversation. Is he the one that gets squeezed? People going to Rice and Worthy. Is it him instead of the quarterbacks that get squeezed a little bit in that captain spot? So that's the first thought that kind of came to mind for me. And if he is, like, I think I want to be on him a little bit more. I mean, he's 35. I know he's slowing down a little bit, but man, he kind of dominated at the end of last season. I mean, he looked slow as shit. I mean, the eye test did not match up to the results. I mean, he looked terrible, but just continued to get the job done. Like, just
he gets a special gear too. He's in with Taylor Swift, so he gets that extra boost. It's like 35 is like 25 with Kelsey, I think
like rest of the season, like I want to be under on Kelsey, like on main slates moving forward, but like first game of the season, prime time, I think I might be in more than the field for those reasons. We'll see. Again, I haven't built much, but Andrews, likely, Gray, I think all really good plays. In flex, Andrews, I think fine in the captain. Likely is a guy they're using in a variety of ways last season. I think he was getting like snaps out of the slot too. I don't know if that's true or not. I think I remember it though. So him at 26. Noah Gray is just going to be involved in some way, shape, or form. 1,600 for him. Finds the end zone once. He's paying off that price tag. So I like him better than those other cheap KC wide receivers. We're talking defense and kickers as well here.
We'll do it in 1 second. I was going to let them keep popping these in for a second. To Jenna's question here, though, we talk enough about this, so we may as well answer this. I'll answer a couple quickly. One is this. I would do this with Lamar well before I would do this with Mahomes, right? If Mahomes is getting there, it's going to be through the air, bunch of stuff. It's not like he's going to run for 100 typically on the ground, stuff like that, run in 3 touchdowns, whatever. Lamar could do that, cannibalize the other dudes were like the expensive versions of, they're not expensive on the slate, but more expensive than the punts in Zay Flowers and Andrews, and it really hurts those guys more. So you could have this where it just ends up being, Lamar with Mahomes, Rice, Worthy, and 2 other Chiefs. It's not common, but I'm just saying if you were doing it, I would definitely be going the other way. And then somebody else, I can't find it right now, but asked earlier about leaving money on the table. You can leave tons on the table in this game. Title gave a couple examples, but like you can leave 6,000 on the table and you're not really being that crazy. What if it's a lineup where instead of Lamar, you've got the Chiefs shutting him down and he doesn't come through and you end up putting like Lamar doesn't do much. They lock him down to 12 points or something. It's just not needed. And instead, Zay Flowers has like 3 catches for 100 and a touchdown. That doesn't really boost Lamar, but Zay Flowers is now super valuable in like a 5-1 Chiefs onslaught. You could just need Zay and still leave a bunch of money on the table if it's Worthy or Kelsey or someone like that up top. So lots of different.
One more thing on that, especially if you think the game goes under, because the less points scored means the less, like, the guys at 10K separate from the 5K guys. 12 points or 11 points from Aguilar could outscore a Kelsey, a Henry in off games like that. So especially if you lean under, it's more viable to leave more salary.
Shout out to the Swifties. Don't know about you. He's feeling 22. Yeah, I told you he got the good gear to start the season off. My daughter's a big Swiftie, so I got a lot of knowledge about Taylor Swift, and now I got to win some of these showdown tournaments to be able to buy these tickets to the Eras Tour and all these things. I don't even know if she's still touring around, but just one of those things. But it could be a thing tonight. So go ahead, Hoop. Take us into the kickers and Ds. We'll cover that a little bit. We'll get to FanDuel. We'll hit the giveaways again, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I'm off the hook with the Taylor Swift stuff now. My daughter's in middle school, and she's now too cool for Taylor Swift. So thank God that was quick, and I've moved past it. Tambo, best of luck, because it's not very fun, I must tell you. Kickers, I mean, these are two of the best kickers in the NFL for fantasy purposes. Bucker and Tucker. Both teams are willing to take the long field goals because of how good these guys have been. Both phenomenal plays. And I do think their ownership will be relatively high, higher than what we're showing. And then on the defensive stuff, the only reason – I'm not saying that the defenses are going to be high owned by any means. I just think they're going to be higher owned than projected because people are not going to want to go much lower than these price tags, the 4K and 3,600. Like it gets very risky when you go below that. And again, not saying these defenses are going to be popular, but I think they could be more popular than we're even projecting here. So that's my stance on defenses. But the kickers, man, very excited to play both these guys. I think both fun guys to play on Showdown, and I'll be way overweight on both of them.
Do you think it's because their names are so similar, why they're both so good at kicking?
Yeah, it could be it.
We got all the narratives on this one here. And what did somebody else say here? There's another one. Oh, our guy, Steven Neighbors, again, man. You know about this, Hoop. Best time to beat the defending champs is to beat them early. Just ask the Lion. Very similar. Yeah, eerily similar. So, Title, I'll go to you. Defense, kickers. Anything you want to add there, man?
No, I touched on it a little briefly. I feel Bucker and Tucker pretty much coin flips. I don't have a strong lean there. I do prefer Chiefs D going against Lamar. Then I really don't like playing defense against Mahomes. The dude's just a magician. So, but at the end of the day, with all that being said, it takes one bad throw. A pick six the other way can change the whole slate. A kick return can change the whole slate. There's so much variance in them, so it's not like I'm Xing them out by any means. They're low owned, a way to get difference, but I prefer Chiefs defense for sure.
Yeah, kick Kerr, butt Kerr, tuck Kerr. It does all go together. Our guy Johnny Hunter, he's all over it, man. So he's got it. Can I play the referees in a flex spot? They will be they will be necessary if the Chiefs win. Chad would not like that, but he will be here. He says, "We appreciate you, Chad." Where's our guy Double D? It's not going to be official this season until we get Double D out in the factory building his hand builds. But hopefully he comes around. If he does, after the show, you can always leave a comment down below. I brought it up real quick. I don't have much more to add on these guys, but if you put like a Butker in the captain with Mahomes, Lamar, Rice, just using the sort of same concept people are going with, you still have almost 7,000 left per spot. And then, the way it would look, to Title's point, is it's probably a lower scoring game or it's just a field goal type game. And then these guys would just get the natural points because they get the ball in their hand every snap, basically, except for, the other ones that they set up for, if Derrick Henry gets a snap or something along those lines. Rice, we just like him. Maybe he just gets those catches along the way. You can still fit in the other guys that would be sort of that as well. I just think there will be Butker lineups with him up top. And if you just go this route with it, it's what Title said earlier. You're not actually going to be as unique as you think, because even though you're going to a unique captain, you're going to the exact same build that everyone else is using. And that's another strategy tip with Showdown we covered in our course over on the site. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can actually get this course for free. Go to shipitnation.com, just download the Showdown mini course. It's 48 minutes. That was one of the takes, though, Hoop, that we covered, is when you go to these cheap captains, it is kind of another negative towards doing it in a lot of cases, because people do it to then max out their salary with the best plays on the slate. Yeah. And so now you didn't really do anything. You went right to the same lineup that everyone else who went to that lower owned captain. You went to the most owned version of those lineups. If that sounds right to you, Hoop, anything?
I touched on it briefly earlier, and it's true, man, because people think that they're just automatically different if they go to like a low-owned captain, a low-owned cheap captain. But a lot of times that's not necessarily the case. You still have to look at those teams pretty deeply, because a lot of players are just playing the same dudes in there. They're going to get both the quarterbacks. They're going to get the top wide receiver, the top running back, whatever they can fit, and then come close to zeroing it out. And that's the team that everyone's playing with that cheapish type captain. So you got to be, especially for hand build, you got to be kind of careful what you're doing in those sort of teams.
And to add on to that, 196,000 in the tournament tonight, just say Bucker's 2%. You're looking at 3,500 roughly people with a Bucker captain team. That means that a kicker captain literally could be split 100 times, 150, and that's just overduped at the end of the day. So if you're playing a 300-man tournament, you have Bucker captain, sure, you probably can zero out your team and feel a lot better. We're mainly talking bigger stuff.
Great call, though, too, because just going back to the Watson play with our guy Mark F., who won the Millie, that was one of the mega Millies he won a ticket into, was a 44-44, a 33-33, the big dog. And so even though there was some Watson lineups in it, and people were like, that would kind of be a way you could go, he wasn't up against 3,500 lineups that were all going to build it the same way. There was not even that many people in the tournament. So just little things like that, definitely good calls, good strategy stuff that we want to bring out here. Hoop, talk to us a little bit about FanDuel, man. I know we want to get out of here, but just in general, we always do cover a little bit of FanDuel for everybody. Anything you want to add there, because softer pricing, less slots to use, same pricing, and there's a lot of different strategy stuff too, but just go into FanDuel for a minute.
Yeah, obviously not the most ideal format for Showdown, but we have to deal with it, and the prize pools are pretty big tonight. So as always, it's gonna be tough for people to catch the quarterbacks on a decent night. Like you got to find someone that can get multiple touchdowns in that MVP spot to beat them out. Derrick Henry, I think, is a much better play over on FanDuel opposed to DraftKings. He's 14.5, so the price is up there, should keep his ownership in check. But like you touched on earlier, he has multiple touchdown upside. Kelsey does. I think Kelsey's probably a better play over here. But in terms of the pricing things that stand out, Rashee Rice is 10K, going to be very popular over there as well. It's a very cheap price tag. Worthy is 8,500, cheap price tag. He's going to be very popular. Mark Andrews is 11K. That's a fair price tag. Both kickers are 9K. Good price tags for both of those guys. Then you get down to the cheapies. Noah Gray at 5.5K, I think, is a great value play. Again, especially over on FanDuel. If he finds the end zone, he's paying that off and probably inoptimal at the 5.5K price tag. So I like him there. The Justice Hill play, 7,500. I think he's still a strong play over on FanDuel. Then you have like all those like cheap wide receivers, Rashad Bateman, 7,500, Aguilar, 6,500, Watson, 7K, likely at 8K, I think is a really good play. P. Ryan's 8K. I don't love that price tag for him. Hardman, 6,500. So pretty similar in terms of what we're looking at. Obviously, the quarterbacks are going to be the premier plays over there. Rashee Rice is underpriced. Worthy's underpriced. They're both on DraftKings and FanDuel. So, it's kind of where we're at over on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, I don't know, Title, if you have anything else to add. Obviously, touchdown site, I think, would make some of my thought process be that, maybe a Kelsey over Rice. Again, maybe the ownership goes that way over there because people already know this or do it, but like the Pachecos and the Kelseys, where you could definitely see 2 touchdowns more. Maybe you just never know how the game's going to go, but I could see that Derrick Henry. I could see FanDuel being a little bit interesting tonight with more captains. The downside is obviously less slots to fill that you need to put in there. Only so many guys you can get different with and all that. But any quick thoughts from you just on FanDuel?
Yeah, the scoring with the bonuses, 3 points for the 100-yard receiving, rushing, and then 300 for passing makes it a little more viable. Like just say it is just on the ground. Henry gets the 100+. The 3 points is a very big deal on FanDuel. Half-point PPR, touchdowns mean a lot. I think it really stems, what is your goal if you're playing on FanDuel? Do you not care how many people you split with? Or are you trying to solo ship? If you're trying to solo ship, I would have no Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson MVP teams. It's I just do not see outcomes where they're in the MVP and there's a solo shipper. Now, again, 20 dupes is perfect. It pays a lot. My quick thoughts, leave at least probably 1,500. Like that's a way to get different. There's not many cheap guys, but just hope Noah Gray outscores a Justin Watson or a Justice Hill. Mecole Hardman's a little cheap down there. Aguilar. At the end of the day, though, 100% of my GPP action will be on DraftKings today. That's just how it's always going to be on Showdown for me.
Yeah, ShipItBuyzer has FanDuel too. Just so you guys know, over on ShipIt Nation, you can go in, you can change your build settings very easily. Just go right in here and then knock it all down and then be able to build around that. So there's lots you could do. Just change it to Baltimore, KC, and you'll be good to go with that. If you guys want to check it out, you can go to the site, join the nation. All the pricing is up there. The early bird pricing, we extended it till September 8th, but the season starts tonight. Anybody that gets in now, if you go for a monthly, we're going to do a random draw Sunday afternoon. We're going to upgrade 3 people to the annual, and anybody who gets the annual, whether it's Shiptimizer version with the optimizer we just showed you, our own, where it's $299, or the $249 version, we're going to upgrade 3 of those to be 6-month all access with all of our optimizers and all of our sports, everything else that comes with the site. Anything else, Hoop, that you want to add there? Anything I'm forgetting before we get out of here?
No, just one quick little shout out to a guy in our community. I don't know if you guys heard the story, but Sean V, who's always in the chat for our shows. He tragically passed away. I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago. He is a supporter of the community, always in here chatting it up during the shows. So yeah, he'll be greatly missed in this community. Sad to see that happen.
Yeah, I hate to see it. And the thing about Sean V, lots of interactions with him. I know he was in other YouTube chats and sort of other sites, always go around and talk about it and whatever. But I would say one thing about him, thought for himself. Absolutely love that. It wasn't, ever just to pick up picks and plays and you guys suck because you don't know anything. It was always a little bit combative that he wants to take his side, but that's what you should be doing. That's what we try and make these shows about. So got to love that. And obviously very sad news to see that. I think it was a car accident and everything, just not old at all by any means. So just anytime you see something like that, we love interacting with everybody here in the chat. We love talking to everyone in here. So you hate to see that. Title, anything you want to add there before we get out of here?
Yeah, I talked about it on the Best Ball show last week when I heard a couple hours before. I mean, that hit home. I joined the podcasting this industry like 5 years from now or something. I remember Sean V in the YouTube chat since then. So, I mean, the YouTube chat is what makes us do this. I say 336 people watching live, plenty watching playback. If there was 3 people watching us live right now, us 3 aren't sitting here doing this right now. Yeah. I'm out there laying by the pool, building my teams, doing whatever. We can do it because of you guys. And yeah, it really hits home. Life is very short. You never know when your days to come. So yeah, rest in peace, Sean, for sure. Was very heartbreaking.
Yeah, again, appreciate everybody that's watching. Like Title said, we definitely love what we do, and we want to keep doing this for you guys. So check it out. Make sure you're involved. Leave a comment. We're all about feedback. I read all the comments. So if you're watching this on playback or when the show ends here in a second and you guys want to go in, you can put a comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like, what you want more of. If you have questions, things like that, we can try and get as many as possible. But most of what we're doing is happening over in the community. We're not a 1-hour Q&A on Sunday. It's around the clock. Everybody's available. You can tag me at midnight and you're probably going to get a response. Like, it's just what we do. We're there for the community. We're taking care of everybody. If you want a place to go that feels like home, feels like family, no condescending takes, all this stuff, you can just hop in and hang out, ask your questions. No such thing as a stupid question. Go to shipitnation.com, get in on the early bird package. That's going to do it for this one, guys. We'll be back tomorrow on the Ship It Nation YouTube station, breaking down the Friday game. But that's going to do it for this one. For Hoop, Title, and myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!
Obviously, I'm a part of the Ship It Nation community. I enjoy the Discord. I get a lot of information out of the Discord, and then I use the site, so all the slate plans, slate info, all that, the DVP stuff. I would say join a site because they do help and you get all the information and it saves you so much time.